our networks, and these are the other capabilities. Right now, their sales engineers are trying to sell this other stuff because that box is already there. So let's look at the two products that Simplicta had before they were acquired. One was log aggregation and heuristic analysis of disparate data. I mean, what does that mean? Well, the idea was we can take logs from all of these different places and we can identify threats. And based on those threats, we can do things to mitigate those threats to protect our networks. Maybe what you could do with something like this would be to figure out, oh, all my VoIP traffic, 80% of it is Skype. That could be a problem. So there's other things that you can do with this, this analysis of heuristic log data that you bring in and normalize. Another interesting thing that was one of their products was controlling internet services with DNS traffic switch, a technique to fight phishing attacks and clean zombies. Thank you. Please protect us from these phishers. So that's interesting. Internet services controlled with DNS traffic. Well, how would this product work if someone didn't use the ISP's DNS server? It wouldn't work. So we can't have that. That means we're going to force you to use our DNS server because we need this to work. And if you're doing something bad or naughty on the internet, we're going to redirect you to a timeout and say, quit downloading all those torrent files. You're messing it up for your neighbors. So that's something else that one of their products can do. So who's using this? Well, if you go to the website, you can look at a list of all the proud customers that are currently using this technology at their ISP. No, that list doesn't exist. But if this tool is really to restore fairness to the internet so everyone can enjoy it equally, why isn't there a list of all the proud users? Why isn't your ISP saying, yeah, we're using Sandvine because we're helping you out so you can enjoy the internet? Because Jaime over here likes to leave his torrents on all night long.
We're not hiding anything.
So there is a question of who is using this. Now, combined, we've both worked at ISPs for nearly 8 years. It's a small community, especially on the national level. We have friends at all of these companies that are in the engineering departments, so we know who's using this. When some of our friends, since we've broken out of that crowd and we do our own things, now we're fighting the good fight, that we approached about just to have a beer and talk with us a little bit about this. We had one of our friends just really clam up and basically got really defensive and won't speak to us. On the other hand, when some of our friends saw this title, this presentation, they started coming out of the woodwork like Deep Throat saying, you wouldn't believe what's going on, and telling us all this information. We're like, whoa, okay, slow down there. So we're just going to play an imagine if game as far as who might be customers here. So an ISP whose business model is built on the oversubscription of the one-way internet. So an ISP that could be impacted by one user in a location, saturating all the upload bandwidth. An ISP that didn't plan or couldn't plan for how the internet is changing, how there is more of a demand for multimedia. An ISP who's not a tier 1 and pays big bucks for strategic peering and bandwidth. So these smaller players, when it hits those tier 1 backbones, they're paying for that. And the upload is a lot more expensive than the download, which is why the oversubscription models work partly to the way that they do. So let's imagine who probably isn't a Sandvine customer right now. In the midst of this, during that whole thing with the resetting bit torrents and oh, I can't believe our ISPs are doing this, and some certain ISPs saying, well, it's a certain small percentage of evil internet users who are screwing that up because upload is a precious bandwidth. In the midst of that, Verizon comes out and says, have 20 megs up. We don't care. Have 20 megs out. If you want to do it, go for it. And we were thinking about that. We're like, why would they do that? There could be a few reasons. My personal opinion is it really is a statement of, yeah, that's how good our network is. And if we get more of our users using peer-to-peer technologies and uploading more, it's really going to have the biggest impact on competitors who can't compete the same way that someone like this can compete. So that was an interesting thing that came out during the middle of all this. They upped their upload speed. All right, so a lot of people are upset about this, and it's hard to get sympathy when everyone knows that you're downloading copyrighted materials or something like that, that you're downloading movies and things. You know, there's a few people out there that are complaining about they can't download Ubuntu or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is a lot of people are definitely upset about this issue. There's one website that we follow, nnsquad.org, networkneutrality.org, and we've been following a lot of the incidents that are being reported. And one of the themes that we noticed is users don't know what's happening. They know something's wrong, something doesn't feel right, and this is the types of reports that they throw out there. My streaming got interrupted. It must be my ISP doing something evil. My SSH telnet windows keep dying. It must be my ISP doing something evil. My IRC connections keep dropping, that sort of thing. And what people need to realize is there are other problems besides just ISPs tampering with that data that are causing these issues. Could be something just the fact that there's some packet loss. Maybe your ISP doesn't have the cleanest connection. Could be DNS timeouts, could be short DHCP leases, could be just the fact that you have a slow computer. But overwhelmingly what we see from that website is people don't have the tools or the expertise to really prove anything is really happening to them. And that's where a community like us could help out as far as, hey, we're smart, we can program things on the network layer, we can get tools to the masses to help them actually get some good data to investigate this, to get the word out. So actual verified reports of this filtering. It went from this, they're doing something to us, to, okay, if they're doing something to us, where is the proof? And then, you know, a few days trickled by and someone was able to capture it. Someone was able to get those unsolicited resets in a packet capture for everyone to see. And if you want to check them out yourself, go to the EFS website, and there's a very excellent article about how it all works. So if this is a big problem, and if most major cable ISPs are doing something like this, why aren't there thousands of reports? So here's a spokesperson for the Cellular Telecommunications and Internet Association Act, and he says, no evidence of any widespread implementation of preferred network management. By the way, that's the buzzword, network management. Is evident. If it became a common practice, for the other side of the debate would have a credible argument. So essentially, we don't have a credible argument. This is being blown out of proportion by people because it's really not happening. It is not widespread. I mean, we know the contrary here. So is it a real problem? The truth that everyone needs to know is this isn't always on. This isn't a on again, off again product. This has a policy that's defined by the carrier, by the ISP, and you have to meet the threshold of that policy before this happens. So it's difficult for even tech-savvy people to catch their ISP in the act to doing this. You would have to coordinate with a bunch of friends that are on the same local cable card or whatever it is that you're connected to see if you can exceed the number of seeds. So in that policy, you can define the number of active seeds that you're allowed. A typical policy for a lot of these ISPs is 50. And if that number exceeds, then that's when those reset packets start happening. So it is a challenge to see. So now we have the FCC demanding from some major ISPs what their network management practices are. And if this is a policy that can be configured, and you're getting a lot of heat right now, maybe we should turn this crap off. Or let's turn this thing on, or change the policy until this issue blows over, and then we'll start it up again. So be aware of that. It's not necessarily always on, even though it is widely deployed. All right, so why did this particular issue get so much attention as far as the reset packets happening? Do you guys remember when VeriSign started resolving all of the .com addresses? And the reaction that they got from that, their first response was, well, we own these name servers. We're allowed to do that. We're not doing anything bad. We're just showing people that they can register domains with us. But we didn't like that. We, as the internet community, didn't like that. Because in our minds, that crossed a line. We had a service that we relied on, that we expected to operate in a certain manner. And one day that service changed, and no one was going to tell us about it. It just happened. So for a lot of people, this .com thing was a trust issue. We had trust that this utility, and I like to call ISPs an internet utility provider, not an internet service provider, that this utility changed right out from under us, And we don't like change because that started getting us thinking about, well, what's next to come as far as if they're brazen enough to send reset packets in the